This is the channel Learn History While You Sleep. Here, you'll find immersive, softly narrated stories from ancient civilizations, medieval empires, and forgotten corners of history, all told in a calming tone designed to help you relax, unwind, and fall asleep. Each episode is crafted to blend education with rest, transforming bedtime into a gateway to the ancient world. New videos weekly. Topics: Rome, Greece, Egypt, medieval Europe, lost empires, and more. Let history guide you into dreams. Subscribe and start your journey through time while you sleep.
Cleopatra. Her name drifts through history like the scent of myrrh on desert wind. A queen not only of Egypt, but of imagination. A woman wrapped in politics, passion, perfume, and myth. But what if we set aside the drama of Rome, the betrayal, the war, the asp? What if, tonight, we entered her private chambers and explored the rituals of her body rather than the ambitions of her reign? Because Cleopatra was more than a symbol of beauty. She was its student and its architect. Her vanity, as Roman writers accused, was not mere indulgence. It was strategy, a soft power, a way to captivate, to endure, to rule. So tonight, in the quiet of your thoughts, we will travel beyond the palace gates, into marble halls where basins steamed with oils, into carved stone baths filled with strange, pale liquids, and ask, what was Cleopatra's beauty routine, and why were so many of her secrets soaked in milk, mud, and mystery? Of all the legends surrounding Cleopatra's rituals, none is as curious or as fragrant as this. She bathed in the milk of donkeys. Not one, not 10, but, according to Pliny the Elder, up to 700. The Roman author, often both fascinated and appalled by the habits of foreign royalty, claimed that Cleopatra kept entire herds of female donkeys on standby just to extract their milk for her daily ablutions. But why donkey milk? Even in antiquity, this was not a common luxury. It was rare, expensive, and for the Egyptians, it was sacred. Donkey milk is high in lactic acid, a natural exfoliant that gently peeled dead skin. It contains vitamins A, D, and E. It soothes inflammation, it hydrates, and most of all, it softens. In the modern world, lactic acid is a staple of high-end skincare. Cleopatra had no laboratory, no dermatologist, but through centuries of oral wisdom and experimental practice, she discovered what worked and codified it into ritual. When she bathed in donkey milk, she was bathing in transformation, in chemistry, and perhaps also in image. Because when a queen requires 700 animals to produce her bathwater, she's not just softening her skin, she's sending a message. Power can be scented, luxury can be political. Cleopatra's beauty did not begin or end with milk. Her world was steeped in scent, and in Egypt, fragrance was medicine, religion, and allure. The queen's chambers were perfumed with myrrh, frankincense, cardamom, and lotus oil. Her skin was likely massaged daily with blends of almond, castor, and moringa oil, all common in ancient Egyptian recipes. Moringa in particular was praised for preventing wrinkles. Frankincense was believed to lift the spirit. Lotus was sacred, symbol of rebirth. Some recipes mixed burnt incense ash with oils to darken the eyes or brows, an ancient form of eyeliner with supposed protective powers against evil spirits. Even her breath was fragrant. Egyptians chewed pellets of cinnamon and honey to purify their mouths and sweeten the breath. To approach Cleopatra was to step into an aura, a carefully curated field of sensory manipulation. She knew the power of scent, not just to charm, but to control. Beyond milk and oils, Cleopatra turned to earth. Historical sources and later traditions tell us she used Dead Sea mud, rich in minerals and naturally exfoliating. Egyptians had long applied Nile clay, mixed with crushed plants and resin, as both a mask and a treatment for inflammation. There are records of women using ashes of burnt date palms, charcoal, even animal fats blended into face masks, some meant to cleanse, others to soften or lighten the skin. Cleopatra's own regime likely evolved from this legacy, mixing earth and water, resin and oil into soft pastes applied at night, scraped away in the morning with a linen cloth. The skin was not just something to display, it was something to shape. In Egypt, beauty and cleanliness were considered one and the same. A dirty body was not only unattractive, it was impure. So beauty, for Cleopatra, was as spiritual as it was aesthetic. Cleopatra's hair was not always seen, but it was always intentional. Iconography shows her in wigs, braids, elaborate headpieces, but underneath, her scalp was likely oiled daily. The ancient Egyptian elite used castor oil and henna to thicken, dye, and preserve the hair. Scents were sometimes worked into the strands using cones of perfumed wax placed on the head, which melted slowly in the heat, releasing fragrance over time. Some formulas even included crushed rose petals, cinnamon bark, or animal marrow. Hair was not simply grown, it was crafted. And Cleopatra, who could bend the will of emperors, knew that how she appeared, even at rest, was part of the myth she inhabited. No beauty ritual in Cleopatra's world was entirely cosmetic. The kohl that lined her eyes, a bold black stroke sweeping to the temples, was not just decorative. It was believed to ward off evil, to improve eyesight, to honor the gods. Made from galena, a lead-based mineral, kohl had antibacterial properties, though, ironically, in large doses, it could also be toxic. Her lips might have been tinted with crushed beetle shells or red ochre, her cheeks flushed with a blend of seaweed and vinegar, her fingernails colored with henna, her body perfumed with civet and lotus. To adorn oneself was to invoke protection. To alter the body was to align it with divinity. Cleopatra didn't wear makeup to impress the mirror. She wore it to channel meaning. In ancient Egypt, the bath was more than a place of washing. It was a ritual. The elite did not bathe merely to cleanse, but to reset, spiritually, physically, and emotionally. Cleopatra likely bathed in private marble or alabaster tubs. The waters may have been mixed with milk, honey, essential oils, herbs, and salts. Baths were prepared not by servants alone, but by pharmacopoeia, ancient specialists in perfumery and medical treatments. They prepared elixirs to be poured into water, each one tailored to a specific effect: cooling, calming, energizing, softening. Some recipes included rose water, vinegar, or wine, substances believed to cleanse and tone the skin. After the bath, she would be massaged, oiled, perfumed, adorned. The result was not just physical beauty, but a performance of sacred sovereignty. To care for one's body in this way was a declaration, I am not of the ordinary world. It was a kind of alchemy, a transformation, a queen reborn with every sunrise. And through that careful crafting of body and aura, Cleopatra ruled not just by force or fear, but by presence. The Roman world, which would eventually absorb Egypt, was fascinated and unsettled by Cleopatra's rituals. To them, she represented something alien, exotic, dangerous. Writers like Pliny and Cassius Dio often described her as manipulative, a woman who bewitched men with perfumes and poisons. But beneath the scandalized tone was admiration, envy even. Roman women adopted some of her routines. Donkey milk became fashionable among aristocrats. Exotic perfumes from Alexandria filled Roman markets. Her influence spread, even after her death. But much of her image was shaped by propaganda. Augustus, eager to erase the memory of Mark Antony's defeat, turned Cleopatra into a symbol of Eastern decadence. The truth was buried beneath layers of political narrative. What survived was not the woman, but the myth. And yet, that myth endures precisely because Cleopatra understood one thing above all.
Beauty is not about appearance. It is about intention. In Cleopatra's world, to be beautiful was not to be decorative. It was to be powerful. To possess knowledge of herbs, of minerals, of sacred oils, to manipulate mood, emotion, and attention. Her rituals were informed by centuries of Egyptian science, Hellenistic experimentation, and African tradition. She was a student of chemistry, of pharmacology, of botany. And though history has often reduced her to a seductress, she was, in many ways, a scientist of the body. She practiced a form of embodied diplomacy, a language of gesture, fragrance, color, and texture. And when Caesar or Mark Antony saw her, they were not merely seeing a woman. They were seeing a world, cultivated by ritual, by detail, by skin softened through 700 donkeys' milk. Curious facts. The donkey milk used in Cleopatra's baths likely curdled quickly in the Egyptian heat. It had to be collected and used fresh, requiring an enormous logistical operation just to supply her tubs. Lactic acid, the exfoliant in donkey milk, is still used today in luxury skincare. Modern lactic acid peels are often credited with youthful glow effects, just as Cleopatra may have experienced. The eyeliner used by Cleopatra, known as Kohl, contained lead sulfide. While potentially toxic, it also had antibacterial properties that helped prevent eye infections common along the Nile. Cleopatra was fluent in several languages and was the first Ptolemaic ruler to learn the Egyptian language. Her interest in local rituals was genuine, not performative. Some of her perfumes, including the legendary Kefi, were composed of over 16 ingredients and burned in temples as incense. Replicas of these scents have been attempted by modern historians and perfumers. Despite being romanticized in art and film, Cleopatra's actual appearance remains unknown. Ancient coins depict her with strong features, suggesting that her beauty may have had more to do with presence and ritual than idealized form. Closing narration. So as we leave the perfumed shadows of Cleopatra's chambers, what remains is not a recipe for beauty, but a philosophy. To tend the body as one would tend a kingdom. To transform care into ceremony. To make ritual from the mundane. and to remember that the most powerful beauty is not the one that mimics others, but the one that defines itself. Cleopatra's routines were not for show. They were for survival, for influence, for the construction of self. And perhaps in that, her greatest legacy is not how she looked, but how she ruled through ritual. Sleep well, or stay with me a while longer. History always has another layer to reveal.